Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!
China operates around 3,000 distant water fishing vessels, nearly 10 times the size of the US fleet. But that's not the full picture. Satellite data suggests the real number could reach as high as 16,000, spreading across the oceans and operating almost non-stop, 24/7. This is the largest distant water fishing force in human history. But what's even more striking is that China doesn't just catch more fish. It also controls much of the global seafood processing, export, and distribution chain. So what is really happening behind these massive fleets? How did a country that once depleted its coastal resources rise to become a seafood superpower, capable of putting pressure even on the United States? Today, let's dive into China's billion-dollar seafood supply chain with Agriculture Insight, where fishing, technology, logistics, and market power come together to reshape the entire global seafood industry. First, let's begin with one of the ocean's most intense hunts, where Chinese fishermen go head-to-head with sharks to control roughly 50% of the fins traded globally each year. In reality, China isn't the only player in this game. Fleets from countries like Indonesia and Spain lead in wild catch volumes. But with the advantage of integrated logistics infrastructure and large-scale mothership networks, China holds the real power in processing and commercialization. Their strength lies in how they operate longline and drift gillnet fleets. In hotspots like the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, Chinese vessels deploy a main line made of ultra-durable synthetic material, stretching from 50 to 100 kilometers. From this backbone, thousands of branch lines are released, each fitted with a steel hook baited with fresh bait and equipped with light-emitting devices to attract sharks. A single voyage can haul in thousands of sharks, all brought aboard using mechanical winch systems and processed immediately on deck. On board, the initial processing begins immediately in the hands of skilled workers. Using specialized knives, fishermen make precise, fully manual cuts to separate the fins without damaging the flesh, preserving their intact shape, the most valuable factor in the high-end market. The sharks are then sent straight into rapid freezing holds at -40 degrees Celsius, helping maintain structural integrity and stabilize collagen levels, as well as key minerals. From there, the largest processing hubs in Guangdong and Hong Kong receive the entire supply. Thousands of workers handle stages ranging from sorting by size and thickness to drying under tightly controlled conditions, before the products are commercialized at prices that can reach up to $1,000 per kilogram. Beyond processing domestic supply, these hubs also import raw materials from dozens of countries, operating as global transshipment centers with highly competitive labor costs. Meanwhile, the rest of the shark is fully utilized. The skin is used for leather, and the liver is processed to extract squalene for the cosmetics industry, with an estimated market value of over $150 million annually. Chinese vessels, sometimes gathering in fleets of over 200 operating at once, are placing unprecedented pressure on offshore squid fisheries. In the Sea of Japan and the Northwest Pacific, multiple studies show that the surge of these fleets coincides with the appearance of North Korea's ghost ships drifting ashore, as local fishermen are pushed out of their traditional fishing grounds. Despite attempts to conceal their movements by switching off automatic identification systems, this fleet is estimated to catch around 220,000 tons of squid annually in waters near the Korean peninsula alone, far exceeding the combined squid catches of Japan and South Korea in any given year. In contrast to these dark fleets, about 60% of the world's squid catch comes from brilliantly lit jigging vessels. They use high-powered LED systems with light intensity strong enough to penetrate dozens of meters into the water at night. Satellite observations show these clusters of light can be clearly detected from space, forming an optical trap that draws squid toward the surface to feed. At that point, hundreds of automated jigging machines line both sides of the vessel, controlling fishing lines fitted with multiple barbed-looking lures, though without actual hooks. The method is highly refined. The machines continuously jerk and release the lines to mimic live prey, triggering the squid's hunting instinct. The moment they latch on, the system automatically reels them in, guiding them over a deflector plate and straight into a chute that drops them into storage bins. With tens of kilometers of fishing lines, a single industrial vessel can harvest dozens of tons of squid under favorable conditions, operating almost non-stop, 24/7. Once caught, the squid are typically flash frozen on board or transferred to support vessels before being delivered to large-scale processing centers. However, the rapid expansion of China's squid fleets remains a major concern for global food security and seafood market transparency. Unlike Japan or South Korea, which generally adhere to strict quotas and conservation regulations, Chinese fleets operate with government fuel and logistics subsidies, estimated at up to $7 billion per year, enabling them to extend their reach to distant fishing grounds, even approaching restricted or unauthorized areas for squid harvesting. Leaving behind the blazing lights of the squid fleets, we move into the East China Sea, home to the Zhoushan Fishing Grounds, one of China's largest seafood harvesting hubs. Thanks to its nutrient-rich coastal ecosystem, crab species play a key role here, contributing to annual catches in the hundreds of thousands of tons and helping the region surpass many Southeast Asian countries in the same segment. Due to the nature of fishing in shallow continental shelf waters, typically under 200 meters deep, Chinese vessels have optimized their operations by deploying long strings of traps. This interconnected system consists of dozens to hundreds of steel cages attached to a main line, stretching for kilometers along the seafloor. Rather than catching individually, each cage functions as a one-way trap, using fresh bait to lure crabs inside, where escape is nearly impossible. After soak times ranging from a few hours to overnight, the entire harvesting process is mechanized using high-speed hydraulic winches, allowing tons of trap lines to be hauled continuously onto the deck. As soon as the traps are opened, the crabs are strictly sorted by size and meat firmness, key factors that determine their market value. In the United States, Chinese crab products are typically positioned in the mass market segment, such as packaged crab meat, frozen crab, or ingredients for processed foods. They are significantly cheaper than Alaska snow crab or king crab, which can cost 3 to 5 times more, depending on the season and supply. Shrimp is not a leading capture fishery. Wild harvest volumes are relatively low and scattered. Yet China still produces around 7 million tons of shrimp each year, the highest in the world. What's notable is that most of this output doesn't come from the ocean. More than 80% is generated through aquaculture, with the backbone being white-leg shrimp, a species that dominates the market thanks to its rapid growth, ease of control, and suitability for large-scale production. In strategic coastal regions such as Shandong, Guangdong, and Fujian, shrimp farms no longer resemble traditional agriculture. They operate more like high-tech industrial complexes. Modular pond systems stretch across vast areas, equipped with 24/7 aeration, real-time environmental sensors, and automated feeding processes, turning each facility into a biological production line with precisely calculated output for every cycle. Notably, the installation of dense solar panels above the water surface has created a major leap forward. Beyond generating clean energy, these panels act as a natural thermal shield, stabilizing water temperatures and reducing environmental fluctuations. key factors that allow stocking densities to increase by more than 150 kilograms per acre compared to traditional models, while also optimizing energy costs. Today, the ingenuity of Chinese farmers extends far beyond coastal areas through integrated shrimp rice farming models. In this symbiotic ecosystem, crayfish act as natural cleanup workers, feeding on pests and providing a rich source of organic nutrients, while rice plants function as a massive biological filter, absorbing waste and purifying the water. The result is a near-perfect economic loop. Rice quality improves with reduced chemical use, while commercial shrimp yields grow steadily, transforming once impoverished rural areas into high-value food production hubs. Next in the supply chain is mackerel, one of the most strategic commodities in China's push to secure food supply. While most countries harvest mackerel primarily for domestic consumption, China has turned it into an export and processing industry valued at between $800 million and $1 billion. Unlike bottom-dwelling species, mackerel migrate in fast-moving schools, requiring a highly proactive pursuit system. China operates massive purse seine fleets equipped with multi-beam sonar fish-finding technology and real-time satellite monitoring. This allows them to pinpoint the exact location and depth of mackerel schools from dozens of miles away, optimizing fuel use and drastically reducing search time, a clear advantage over the more traditional fleets in Southeast Asia and West Africa. Moreover, the most distinctive aspect of this system is the integration of fishing with long-distance logistics. As soon as nets hauling tens of tons are brought aboard, the mackerel are immediately transferred to motherships, floating warehouses capable of ultra-fast freezing at temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius. This rapid deep freezing process prevents the oxidation of mackerel's naturally high fat content, preserving the firmness of the flesh and maintaining optimal omega-3 levels, key factors that allow Chinese mackerel to retain consistent quality upon landing, even after voyages lasting up to 6 months. In practice, China doesn't just fish mackerel in its own waters. It also secures access through jurisdictional agreements, enabling operations in some of the world's richest mackerel grounds, from Peru to West Africa. The catch is then transported to major processing hubs such as Ningbo and Zhoushan, where automated production lines can debone, can, or smoke thousands of fish per hour. What is the most widely consumed marine fish in China? You have 3 seconds to guess, but the answer is a name few people expect: hairtail. While salmon and tuna dominate international headlines, hairtail is the quiet king, accounting for up to 80% of global production. China has turned this ribbon-like silver fish into a domestic industry worth around $2.5 billion. The peak fishing seasons run from April to June and again from September to November as migrating schools move into the East China Sea and the South China Sea. Large-scale trawling is the primary method, but because hairtail live in deeper waters, the process requires strict speed control to minimize pressure shock. The fish's value lies in its shimmering silver skin, a guanine-rich structure that is extremely delicate. Even minor damage can significantly reduce its market value. That's why, immediately after being hauled up, each fish is placed flat on individual trays and rapidly frozen to preserve both the skin and its collagen content. The result is white, tender flesh with a clean sweetness and very few fine bones, ideal for a wide range of dishes. But beyond nutrition, an intact hairtail with a gleaming silver finish is seen as a symbol of abundance and prosperity, often presented as a premium gift during important occasions. This combination of massive output, refined processing techniques, and strong cultural significance has cemented Hairtail's dominant position in China's domestic market. From a common fish, it has been elevated into a product that is both industrially scaled and symbolically valued. And that is why, despite receiving little global media attention, Hairtail continues to quietly dominate the dining tables of hundreds of millions of people. With an annual catch of over 300,000 tons, South Korea ranks among the top 3 mackerel-producing countries in the world, behind China and Japan. Beyond generating hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, mackerel is closely tied to the harsh years following the Korean War, when it served as an affordable source of protein, helping sustain over 20 million Koreans amid severe food shortages. Today, this fish is not only a cultural symbol, featured in the fragrant grilled dish godeungyeogui on Korean dining tables, but also one of the key pillars of the nation's fisheries industry. From May to October, as warm monsoon winds sweep across the eastern waters of the Korean peninsula, the silver migration, the season of the nation's iconic mackerel, officially begins. Compared to the world's leading mackerel producers, South Korea is no less advanced in technology or fishing operations. Its modern fleets are equipped with multi-layer sonar, radar, and precise navigation systems. Instead of relying on experience alone, sonar has become an eye beneath the ocean, allowing fishermen to monitor the structure, density, and movement of fish schools in real time. Massive purse seine nets remain the optimal solution for harvesting large migratory mackerel schools. When the moment is right, with a single command, the net, spanning hundreds of meters, rapidly closes, enclosing millions of fish at once. Immediately after, high-capacity vacuum pumps draw the fish directly from the net onto the vessel through enclosed pipes, reducing handling time and minimizing damage to preserve freshness. And in less than 30 minutes, over 200 tons of fish can disappear from the ocean, a massive yield that once required an entire fishing village weeks at sea to achieve. Despite using similar technologies and fishing methods, South Korea deliberately pursues a balance between volume and value, rather than maximizing output like China or pushing quality to extremes like Japan. This approach allows South Korea to both sustain its fish stocks and shape a stable, long-term mackerel industry. From June to November each year, the eastern waters of South Korea become bustling with thousands of squid fishing vessels, supporting one of the country's most valuable fisheries and generating over $1 billion annually. Unlike species such as tuna or mackerel, which are typically harvested during the day, squid fishing takes place almost entirely at night. This is due to the squid's distinctive phototactic behavior. When a strong light appears in a dark environment, they quickly swim toward the source in search of prey. Taking advantage of this characteristic, modern squid fishing vessels measuring 30 to 60 meters in length are equipped with high-powered LED lighting systems, capable of illuminating vast areas of the sea spanning hundreds of meters. On each vessel, the automated squid jigging system, originally developed in the 1970s, has been significantly upgraded with modern technology. The setup includes hundreds of luminous artificial lures, continuously operated by machines that lower and retrieve them in steady, rhythmic motion. At the same time, fishermen use radar and sonar to precisely locate squid schools at depths ranging from 50 to 150 meters in cold waters. Once the squid have gathered near the surface, the automated jigging system immediately operates at full capacity. Within just a few hours, each vessel can haul in between 1 to 3 tons of squid, an impressive figure compared to traditional fishing methods. After being brought on board, the squid are sorted and cleaned immediately. For Korean fishermen, squid are not only a primary source of income, but also a gamble in the night sea, where every trip comes with high fuel costs, harsh weather, and intense competition from international fleets. After docking at ports such as Sokcho or Busan, the squid are quickly transported to processing plants to be turned into a wide variety of products. Notably, in South Korea, the live dancing squid dish, known as sanakshi, has become a unique culinary symbol, reflecting the country's strong preference for extremely fresh seafood, despite ongoing controversies surrounding it. Not only does seaweed contribute nearly 50% of the Earth's oxygen, it is also one of the most mineral-rich ocean foods on the planet. And when it comes to seaweed, people immediately think of South Korea, a country known for its vast offshore seaweed farms. In the world of Korean seaweed, the most prominent is gim, a thin layer of seaweed that nearly disappeared after 1949, until British biologist Kathleen Drew Baker decoded its hidden life cycle, enabling humans to cultivate it for the first time. From the laboratory to the open sea, thousands of stakes transform the water's surface into seaweed farms, stretching across thousands of hectares, laying the foundation for a global seaweed powerhouse. From around November, when sea temperatures drop below 12 degrees Celsius, the seaweed begins to grow rapidly, as if a biological switch has been turned on. Within just a few weeks, thin blades measuring 15 to 20 centimeters blanket long stretches of nets extending for kilometers. That is when the drum harvesters appear. Steel cylinders over 1 meter in diameter, operating like giant harvesting wheels on the ocean's surface. As vessels move along the net lines, rotating blades spin thousands of times per minute, carefully trimming only the upper portion of the seaweed, while leaving about 5 centimeters of the base intact so it can regrow for the next harvest. This allows a single stretch of net to yield multiple harvests in one season, a true form of rice farming on the ocean. Immediately after being cut, the seaweed is suctioned into a preliminary washing system on board, then mechanically pressed to remove excess water. Within minutes, fresh seaweed is compressed into netted bundles weighing up to 800 kilograms, ready to be transported ashore the same night. Korean seaweed is especially renowned for its superior quality and strict production standards. Cultivated in cold, nutrient-rich waters, it develops a deep color, natural sweetness, and a distinctive crisp texture. After harvesting, it is quickly processed and dried to preserve its flavor and nutritional value. This combination of ideal natural conditions and advanced processing techniques has made Korean seaweed one of the most sought-after products in the global market. Abalone, one of the 4 great delicacies of the sea, is not only a culinary symbol, but also a high-value pillar of South Korea's seafood industry. Each year, with just around 20,000 hectares of coastal aquaculture, the sector generates nearly $700 million USD, elevating the country's reputation on the global fine dining map. Abalone are first bred in high-tech hatcheries under strict environmental and water quality control standards. Once they reach a certain size, they are transferred to offshore cage systems for grow-out. Their primary diet consists of nutrient-rich natural seaweed. Combined with clean waters, stable temperatures, and a nutrient-rich ecosystem, South Korea offers ideal conditions for producing abalone with thick flesh, deep sweetness, and top-tier quality. The harvesting process for abalone here begins when culture trays are lifted from the sea using automated hoists. Each tray holds around 200 to 300 individuals, weighing dozens of kilograms. As soon as they leave the water, the abalone are quickly rinsed to remove algae and sediment, a fast but essential preparation step before the most critical stage of the entire process. What follows is a precise battle of skill that determines their commercial value. Workers use specialized tools to carefully insert along the shell's edge, detaching each abalone from its surface while preserving the foot, the single attachment muscle, yet also the most valuable part. This step demands exceptional tactile precision, as even slight misapplied force can tear the muscle, immediately downgrading the product's quality. On the premium seafood market, abalone from South Korea is ranked among the finest, second only to wild varieties from Japan. Prices can reach 80 to 120 USDs per kilogram for large live specimens, 2 to 3 times higher than mass-farmed abalone from China, where production is optimized at an industrial scale, but often lacks the firm texture, deep sweetness, and survival rate achieved through Korea's tightly controlled aquaculture systems. Whether a seasoned foodie or a first-time explorer of Korean cuisine, almost no one is unfamiliar with the allure of octopus, the true vedette of seafood in South Korea. Unlike squid, which are drawn to the surface by bright lights, octopus are masters of ambush on the seafloor. They do not chase, they wait. As a result, in places like Sokcho and Ulleungdo, fishermen do not pursue their catch, but instead lower artificial homes to the seabed, allowing the octopus to enter the trap on their own. The key lies in the bait: crabs, fish scraps, and offal, highly attractive food sources that can raise the capture rate to 70 to 80%. Once prepared, the traps are deployed in long lines, spaced about 10 to 15 meters apart, forming vast fields of traps across the seafloor. The most common designs are cylindrical cages made of plastic or metal with narrow openings, alongside ceramic pots or plastic tubes that mimic natural shelters. Beneath cold waters tens of meters deep, hundreds of these traps are linked into extended lines, each preloaded with bait. But the moment an octopus crawls inside, the one-way entrance transforms what seemed like a safe refuge into a trap with almost no way out. By dawn, when the sea is still veiled in a thin layer of mist, boats return to their trap lines. Each rope is slowly hauled up by hand or through small pulleys, lifting one pot after another from the water, growing heavier with every meter. If the timing is right, inside are octopuses weighing dozens of kilograms, but just a few hours too late, and an entire line can come up nearly empty. Unlike common octopus that weigh only a few kilograms, giant octopus require fishermen to use steel hooks and pulleys to bring them on board. While in Hokkaido, Japan, they can sometimes be controlled with specialized rods. In the East Sea of South Korea, these 30 to 50 kilograms creatures cling tightly and thrash violently, turning each haul into a real struggle between humans and a powerful deep-sea animal. From the deck, the freshly caught octopus are sent directly to coastal seafood markets and processing facilities, quickly making their way onto dining tables in the famous sanaki, where the tentacles still twitch gently on the plate, as if they have yet to realize that their journey at sea has come to an end. Known as a living fossil with a history spanning more than 150 million years, the bowfin has long been dismissed by many as little more than swamp trash, a fish with soft flesh and filled with tiny bones. However, as global supplies of sturgeon have become increasingly scarce, the bowfin has unexpectedly risen to prominence in the luxury food industry by producing roe that serves as a rising alternative to traditional caviar, as the classic caviar market gradually runs dry. Every year from December to February, fishing trips turn into intense races against time, the brief window when the roe still retains its natural pale yellow color. At this stage, it has not yet turned the deep orange associated with full spawning, meaning it still meets the quality standards required for caviar production. To To capture this fierce species, fishermen rely not only on traditional rods, but more commonly on mechanized reel fishing techniques. The process begins with preparing bait. Slices of fish meat or small scented pellets are carefully hooked onto single hooks to attract bowfin in slow-moving currents. When a bowfin strikes, the strength of this fish, capable of breathing air through a modified swim bladder, immediately pulls the line tight, sending heavy pressure surging through the reel. Fishermen must coordinate carefully between controlling the drag and cranking the reel to withstand the fish's violent thrashing. Because of its aggressive nature and sharp jaws, the bowfin will resist fiercely right up to the side of the boat. Anglers must act quickly to net the fish and stabilize its body, protecting the delicate structure of the ovaries inside. Only female fish whose roe has reached the ideal maturity, with firm, separated eggs and glossy shells, are kept. On average, a mature bowfin can yield between 0.5 and nearly 1 kilogram of roe, bringing significant profit when fishermen intercept the right migration routes. From there, each jar of roe can sell for several dozen to nearly $100. While still far cheaper than traditional sturgeon caviar, it is enough to transform a once overlooked fish into an economic lifeline, sustaining entire fishing communities across the deep southern regions of the United States. Imagine diving deep into the ocean, where beneath the surface lies a vast ecosystem, bursting with color and life. But behind the mesmerizing beauty of the coral reefs in Florida and the Bahamas lurks one of the world's most dangerous fish, the lionfish. An invasive predator capable of wiping out up to 80% of native fish populations within just a few weeks, causing devastating consequences for the ecosystem. The crisis began in the late 20th century, when a few individuals from the Indo-Pacific were released into the Atlantic Ocean through the ornamental aquarium trade. From that moment, a chain reaction disaster unfolded. With an astonishing reproduction rate, a single female can produce up to 2 million eggs per year, and a stomach capable of expanding 30 times its normal size. Lionfish have become living vacuum cleaners, devouring everything from juvenile fish to lobster larvae and pushing coral reefs toward collapse. To combat an enemy with virtually no natural predators in these waters, humans have been forced to intervene urgently. The most effective method today, especially in shallow waters and coral reef environments, is surprisingly simple yet precise, using handheld spear devices paired with 3-pronged spear tips. Because lionfish are extremely confident and show little fear, they often remain motionless, displaying their venomous spines instead of fleeing. Divers simply approach at close range, aim for the head, and release the rubber-powered spear, sending the tip straight through the target. Immediately afterward, the fish is placed into a zookeeper, a specialized rigid plastic cylindrical device designed to remove the fish from the spear without direct hand contact, ensuring complete safety from the deadly venom carried in its spines. The effectiveness of this manual method is truly astonishing. At professional tournaments, such as the Emerald Coast Open 2024, divers removed more than 11,000 lionfish in just a few days. In broader community campaigns across Florida, that number has surpassed 30,000 fish removed from the ocean, demonstrating the remarkable impact of spear diving teams. Alongside commercial harvesting, another dramatic and controversial method has emerged: spearing lionfish and then directly offering them to sharks or groupers. The key goal is to train top predators in the Atlantic food chain to recognize lionfish as a food source. Divers spear the lionfish and gently shake the spear tip to attract sharks or groupers, encouraging them to approach and enjoy the free meal. However, this method is something of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it hopes to create a long-term natural control mechanism. On the other hand, it may alter the behavior of native predators, causing sharks or groupers to develop the dangerous habit of following divers in anticipation of food. This not only increases risks for divers, but could also weaken the predator's natural hunting instincts. Furthermore, without proper training, sharks may still be stung by the 18 sharp venomous dorsal spines if they fail to swallow the prey headfirst. Ultimately, whether through spearing or training predators, the most sustainable strategy is still putting lionfish on the dinner table. Under the slogan, "Eat them to beat them," turning this invasive species into a culinary delicacy not only helps protect coral reefs, but also creates economic opportunities for local communities, helping restore the natural rhythm of the ocean. If lionfish are the vacuum cleaners destroying coral reefs, then the American alligator is the uncrowned king of the southern freshwater world, ruling over an industry worth more than $100 million each year, where the line between luxury delicacy, conservation symbol, and massive economic resource is separated by nothing more than a single precise shot. From the brink of extinction due to rampant hunting in the 1960s, the United States orchestrated one of the most remarkable wildlife recoveries in history. In Louisiana alone, the alligator population surged from fewer than 100,000 individuals to more than 1.5 million within just half a century. Harvesting alligators is not for the faint-hearted. The most common technique is known as treeline hunting. Hunters hang massive baited hooks, usually with chicken or carp, from branches just above the water's surface. Remarkably, an alligator's strike is incredibly fast, occurring in just 0.2 to 0.3 seconds, faster than a human blink. The moment prey touches the water in front of its snout, the massive jaws snap shut like a steel trap. This is when the real battle begins. Once hooked, the alligator thrashes violently, forcing hunters to pull it alongside the boat by hand. To dispatch the animal humanely and safely, they use a bang stick, a specialized firearm device fitted with a large caliber round. A single, precise push into the weak spot just behind the skull instantly shuts down the central nervous system. But the margin for error is razor thin. Miss by even an inch, and the hunter may find themselves face to face with a set of deadly jaws. A brutal reality that keeps this profession ranked among the most dangerous jobs on Earth. Yet, the sustainable foundation of the alligator industry does not rely solely on hunting. It is built upon a system known as ranching, a model designed to reinvest directly into nature. During summer, helicopters and airboats venture deep into remote swamps to collect eggs from wild nests, where natural mortality rates can reach up to 90% due to flooding and predators. Under controlled conditions, the hatch rate becomes nearly perfect. In return, farms are legally required to release 12% of the raised alligators back into the wild once they reach about 1.2 meters in length, ensuring the long-term stability of wild populations. All collected eggs are then transported to modern farms, where they are raised under optimal conditions according to strict government regulations. Legally, not just anyone can enter this business. Hunters and farmers must possess both official licenses and authorization permits, while landowners must provide documented proof of legal ownership over the harvesting areas. After harvest, the belly skin, the most valuable part of the alligator, is considered one of the most luxurious materials in the world. It is transformed into high-end handbags in Paris and Milan, often selling for tens of thousands of dollars. To ensure transparency, every skin leaving the facility must carry a CITES tag with a unique serial number, along with a resource tax of approximately $4.25 per tag, which is reinvested into conservation funds. As a result, the alligator today is no longer merely the terror of the swamp. it has become a valuable natural resource, proof that humanity can harvest nature intelligently, efficiently, and sustainably. In recent years, the wild hog crisis in the United States has spread far beyond warm climate states like Texas and Florida. At least 39 states are now facing widespread invasions, including regions with harsh winters such as Minnesota and North Dakota. According to agricultural reports, more than 66% of the wild hog population would need to be removed each year just to slow their growth, a target that is nearly impossible to achieve given their astonishing reproductive rate. Female wild hogs can begin reproducing at just 6 months old, producing 4 to 6 piglets per litter and sometimes 2 litters per year, allowing entire populations to double in size within a single year. Even more alarming is the rise of the Java Porco hybrid, a cross between European wild boars and domestic pigs, which is creating a new nightmare for farmers and communities. More than 1,500 municipalities have already reported serious damage caused by this hybrid species. Weighing up to 200 kilograms, these massive animals often move in herds of 20 to 100 individuals capable of trampling newly planted crops within minutes. Beyond their ability to evade traps with remarkable speed, they are also far less fearful of humans than pure wild boars, a behavioral trait inherited from domestic pigs, making encounters with people increasingly unpredictable. In the United States, particularly in major agricultural states like Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia, corral traps remain one of the most widely used methods for controlling wild hog populations. These traps are typically large circular or square steel enclosures, baited with corn or grain to lure entire sounders inside. A well-designed trap must meet several key requirements. It needs to be large enough to hold a full group, equipped with a strong gate that only closes when most of the animals are inside, and placed along the hog's regular travel routes. For experienced trappers, a few small techniques can make a huge difference. They often pre-bait the site for several days so the hogs become comfortable entering the trap, use remote cameras to monitor herd behavior, and only trigger the gate when nearly the entire group has gathered inside. Once a trap has been carefully prepared and set, patience becomes the most important part of the process. But when the gate finally drops, a single successful capture can trap dozens of hogs at once, from large adults to young piglets. One reason why corral traps remain a top choice for farmers and wildlife control teams. Even so, despite being one of the most important control methods, experts emphasize that trapping alone is not enough. It must be combined with hunting and large-scale monitoring to truly slow the explosive growth of wild hog populations. And beyond North America, people across different regions of the world have developed many other strategies to confront this destructive species. That's exactly what we're here to explore. How many other tactics humans have devised in the ongoing battle against wild hogs? Right now, one of the most urgent concerns is the rise of cold-tolerant hybrid hog populations, often referred to as super pigs, emerging as a serious ecological threat along the border between Canada and the United States. With thick layers of fat and dense coats, these animals have developed the behavior of digging snow dens, where temperatures can remain around 0 degrees Celsius, even when the outside environment drops to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Constant hunting pressure has pushed them to become almost entirely nocturnal, leaving behind only tracks and freshly rooted patches of soil as evidence of their presence. With an average nightly range of 5 to 10 kilometers and a strong ability to disperse, ground hunting teams often manage to encounter only a few individuals, while the majority of the herd has already moved on to another area. For this reason, helicopter hunting, known as aerial gunning, has become a widely used control method across agricultural regions spanning thousands of hectares. Unlike deer, which tend to remain within relatively fixed home ranges, wild hogs constantly move in search of food and water. Ironically, this relentless mobility becomes a fatal weakness. In open landscapes, their movement patterns make them far easier to spot from the air, allowing aerial teams to quickly locate and track entire groups across vast stretches of farmland. When pursued, a herd of wild hogs will often split into several smaller groups and scatter in different directions, a high-level survival instinct that makes it difficult to eliminate the entire sounder at once. On light helicopters, the pilot must maintain a steady flight path, while the shooter uses a semi-automatic rifle to engage targets rapidly. For experienced aerial crews, 30 to 50 hogs can be removed in a single hour, a level of efficiency that even highly trained ground hunting teams using tracking dogs rarely achieve. In Texas, although hunters do not need a hunting license to shoot wild hogs on private land with the landowner's permission, the activity is not entirely unrestricted. Operators must obtain a special permit from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, a regulatory measure designed to clearly distinguish professional pest control operations from recreational hunting, while also preventing unregulated activities that could lead to serious accidents. Despite its effectiveness, the price of this sweeping efficiency is far from small. Operating costs typically range from $800 to $1,500 per flight hour, and when fuel, surveillance drones, and ground support teams are added, the seasonal budget for controlling hog populations in a single region can easily exceed $100,000. More concerning still, the hogs that survive these aerial raids can quickly change their behavior. They retreat deeper into dense vegetation and become extremely wary of the sound of helicopter engines. This phenomenon even has a specific term among wildlife control teams: helicopter shy. Over time, this makes the expensive tactic less effective, as the animals learn to remain motionless beneath thick tree cover, effectively avoiding detection by thermal cameras. As a result, the success rate of subsequent aerial operations can drop sharply once the hogs adapt to the threat from above. Another method increasingly discussed in wild hog control programs is the use of poisoned bait under controlled conditions. Unlike direct approaches such as hunting or trapping, this strategy begins in wildlife research laboratories. Scientists test different chemical compounds to identify substances that can effectively target wild hogs while minimizing risks to other wildlife. One of the most widely studied compounds is sodium nitrite. When mixed into bait, such as grain or fermented feed, the compound can interfere with the blood's ability to carry oxygen in animals that ingest it. After undergoing laboratory testing and environmental risk assessments, the bait is then introduced in carefully monitored field trials. In practice, the bait is usually placed inside specialized bait stations designed specifically for wild hogs. These devices allow hogs to open the lid using the strength of their snouts while making it difficult for smaller animals to access the bait. The bait sites are also closely monitored with cameras and tracking systems to evaluate effectiveness and prevent unintended impacts. Although poisoned bait has the potential to remove large numbers of wild hogs in a short period of time, the method remains controversial. As a result, in many regions it is only used within licensed wildlife control programs and is typically combined with trapping and hunting as part of a broader population management strategy. Leaving the cornfields of the United States behind, we arrive in Brazil, one of the world's leading agricultural powers, where farmers are confronting Java porco, a rapidly expanding hybrid wild hog that is devastating crops. This hybrid emerged in the 1980s in São Paulo, when escaped wild boars interbred with domestic pigs. The result was a larger, tougher animal that retained the aggressive survival instincts of its wild ancestors. The damage is especially severe in Brazil's vast sugarcane fields, which cover millions of hectares and form the backbone of the country's sugar and ethanol industries. When herds invade, they do more than eat the cane. Their rooting and biting damage the stalks, allowing fungi and bacteria to infect the plants and reduce sugar yields. To protect their fields, many farms have turned to a simple but effective solution: defensive trenches. These ditches are typically about 1.5 meters deep and over 1 meter wide, exceeding the jumping ability of wild hogs. Their steep walls make climbing difficult, while the animal's limited depth perception often causes entire herds to hesitate at the edge rather than attempt the crossing. Similar systems are used in parts of Australia and Africa. However, trenches remain a localized defense. A single collapsed section or overlooked gap can render the entire barrier useless. And on a larger scale, the expansion of wild hog populations continues to outpace human efforts to control them.